Okay, so we can start. So we finished on 10 immoral deeds and how to convert that into 10 moral. Today we will take up on what needs to be done on moral deed so that the experience becomes better. So there are three things. One is Dana, another one is Sila, another one is Bhavana. Three. So Dana means to give. So basically when if you look from the being perspective, typically we can have three beings. One, the human, Manusa, then we can have Deva, and another one is the animals and Preta and all that. So these are three broad categories we can do. And when the being gets into a human realm, if it has the state where it had stayed for a long time in the apayas, it will have the habit of not giving anything. It wants everything for itself. And not only that, it wants somebody else item also to be part of it. If somebody is doing well, then this person doesn't like that other person to do well, because he feels jealous or he feels envious, or he or she wants the same thing.
Sorry sir for late.
No problem at all. Absolutely fine. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya sir.
We just now started. It's okay. So he or she does not want anybody to take anything, or doesn't want that person to do well. So when that being has come from a lower realm of existence to a human realm of existence, it carries with it all these habit patterns. In the same way, if the Deva, the person who has stayed as a Deva for a long time, and he comes into the human realm of existence, he carries the aspect of giving. So both can be seen in this world right now. There are people who are very generous. There are people who are very miser. Both of them are there. So now, yeah, Shreyas, go ahead.
So this give and take, is this restricted to only the physical items, like the materialistic items, or
No.
okay? In terms of the emotions, joy, happiness, that also.
Everything,
Sorrow, misery. Okay.
including the Dhamma, what I am giving, is again giving only.
Correct. Okay.
But if I expect something in return, so let's say I want to give this, but then you have to pay me 5,000 rupees per session.
Right. Okay.
So there is no problem with 5,000 rupees. It is the intention which matters. So I can't give unless you pay me something. And I'm going to keep on storing the money, or storing whatever it is, basically.
Right. Okay.
And when I do that, I turn myself into an animal kind of mind.
Correct. Yeah.
So it can be emotion, it can be happiness, it can be togetherness, it can be whatever. As long as the person doesn't have any bad intention or a narrow-mindedness or miserliness,
Right.
it's okay.
Okay.
People are also miser in terms of loving.
Yes.
So everything is dana only, right? It is need not be only money.
In the considers that everything is dana.
Everything is part of that.
Okay.
So
Got it.
the meaning of dana is generosity. So you should be generous in offering anything to anyone, including food or shelter or clothing or good talks or whatever it is.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So the first thing is dana, giving. Second one is transfer of merit to others. So this is called as patidana. That means you just transfer merit to all the beings, irrespective of whether they are form or without form or whatever it is. Just wish good. Then pattanumodana. Anumodana means appreciative joy. So you keep on appreciating people or beings who are able to get whatever they are able to get. So pattanumodana means extensively feeling happy or glad about the beings, especially human beings, who are raising themselves on the spiritual plane as well as on the materialistic plane of existence. So we rejoice in others' merit. So these three are dana. This helps in removing the lobha, greed. And because of greed, nobody gives anything. So we have to force ourselves to give something. So if that develops properly, then the first in that triyak or trichak or that animal kind of attitude, one of them is reduced. Then we come to the Sila Morality. First one is for reverence to elders and holy persons. Apachayana. Then rendering services to others without any expectation. Vyayavacha. So these are the two which would help in increasing the sila. Apart from the sila or the morality, what you're going to have as the precepts. Then the bhavana. First one is meditation, that is bhavana. Here we get into the jhanas, basically. Then listening to the Dhamma, this is called Dhamma Savana. Teaching Dhamma, Dhamma Desana, correcting one's wrong views on Kamma is another one. So 3 plus 3, 6 plus 4, 10. This is one way of looking at 10 moral deeds. Another way of seeing 10 moral deeds is stopping the 10 immoral deeds. So in two ways we can see Sila, Dana, Sila, Bhavana in one way, or removal of 10 immoral deeds in another way. Now once, let us say, I understand this and I have come good amount of time in this, then it directly takes us to start experiencing based upon the sutta. So we can start our journey from the most easiest of the suttas. rather than the most difficult of the sutta. So what is the most easiest of the sutta? The most easiest of the sutta is Pena Pindupama Sutta, where we have already done a discourse on that. So that would give clarity on what are these 5 khandhas are all about. It helps in investigation. What do you mean by Rupa Khandha? What do you mean by Vedana Khandha? What do you mean by Sanya Khandha, Sankhara Khandha and Vijnana Khandha? And what is a Khandha itself? Khandha means heap or a group of things. So, if we were to contemplate on the Rupa, we can just see a foam. And if you have a tumbler and you are boiling, you can see the bubbles, and they keep on interacting with one with another, and it keeps on joining together and getting burst. Same thing is happening with our body. So we can see that. As the food is eaten, it gets digested. So the food getting digested will change the shape of the being. If I eat more, the stomach will come out. If I eat less, the stomach doesn't come out. Then the state of the body changes. While not eaten, it looks tired. While eaten, it looks better. And another thing is that we can see when not taken bath, you look one way. When you take bath, you look another way. Okay, so these are the things what can be experienced. This is called abhinya. Abhijanati is what abhinya is all about. That means you know what truly it is. So if there is no fuel given, which is the food, the body cannot grow. If the food is not partaken for a week, the person start to shrink. And after 2 weeks, even more shrinks. After 3 weeks, like that, if the person is not having any solid food at all, only on liquid food, then the body keeps on shrinking, which can be seen. So that is Rupa. And when we come to Vedana, feeling, it's very random. If I see something, I start feeling. If I don't see something, I start to feel something else. It's just like raindrops. There is a feeling, but the feeling comes and goes. As the rainwater touches the body, pleasurable feeling comes to people who love to drench themselves in rain. Painful feeling will come to those people who don't like rain. For them it looks piercing. For those people who love rain, they feel it entertaining. And those people who don't have any preference on rain, they're just getting wet, they don't care. Another thing that can be seen is when somebody is feeling the pleasure, they don't feel the neutral and also the painful. And when somebody is having a painful feeling of the rain, he doesn't or she doesn't feel the pleasurable and the neutral. And somebody is feeling neutral, they don't feel the pleasurable and painful. So at any point in time, one feeling can only be experienced. Not all feelings can be experienced at once. So there are only 3 feelings, but yet all the 3 feelings cannot be experienced at once. So this also can be experienced, can be seen. Okay. Then we come to Sanya. Sanya is like a mirage. The more you run towards that lake, the more farther it goes. The more you go against the lake, the more it follows the person. Why it is a mirage? So let's understand in a very proper way. Now, this body has been changing. However, the parents, as soon as I was born, they named this body as Vilas. So there is no person called Vilas, but then this body was named Vilas. So then what happened is that Vilas started growing, but actually Vilas never grew. It's a fixed name. The body only grows. So it is never seen. So we say Vilas is growing, he is grown to 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, like that. Now closely going to become 50-year-old. But there is nothing called as a 50-year-old person. Why? Because at any point in time the body has changed so many number of times. And just because the name Vilas is given, it looks fixed, which itself is a mirage. So Sanya, which is untrue. But yet we believe that Vilas exists and everything exists, and we keep on searching for it. Then comes marriage. So first comes schooling, then comes the graduation, then comes the job, then comes the marriage, then comes children. All of that is a mirage experience. So it just keeps on passing away. So the Rupa is passing away, the Vedana is passing away, it arises and passes away. Sanya is arising and passing away. Then we come to Sankhara. Now this very funny thing. It's just like somebody trying to find wood in a plantain. Not possible to find any wood. So he keeps on removing each one of those layers, and ultimately he finds nothing in that layer. Now Buddha gives this very nice simile. Now what is Sankhara? Just keep on doing out of something or the other, out of intention. So by the time you finish it, that is gone. So let's take very simple examples. Let's take, we are preparing pizza. It's a concept. So you put everything. Once that goes into the mouth, there's no pizza anymore. Then let's take movie. Once you sit in the theater, the movie is gone. Then let's take vacation. Go to a mountain. When you're on the mountain, there is no mountain. So every Sankhara we are doing is of that kind. It doesn't have any substance by itself. But yet the person keeps on doing Sankhara by the thoughts and words and deeds. So this also can be seen. And Vijnana. We had spoken about the 9 different states of consciousness earlier on when we did the Mahavidyala Sutta. So this Vijnana is the magician. Why the magician? Because it is what it is doing all of this. So you become what you think. So if I think I'm a husband, straight experience of husband. If I think I'm a gentleman, straight experience of a gentleman. If I think I'm a criminal, straight experience of a criminal. If I think I'm fearing, straight experience of a fear. If I'm hallucinating, straight experience of hallucination. If I enjoy any sensual object, experience of sensual object. if I want to remember something, this consciousness will go and pick up that record and make it live. So every day this keeps on going like this, where it gives you a sequence, and we are very much interested, focused in the sequence. So this can be seen. So one who actually is able to experience this and see this can really understand that there is no I. What we are really saying is the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana. So with that, the Sakkaya Ditti, this collection, whatever I am calling as Kaya, is a collection. Sakkaya, that means this Kaya is real. Ditti, view, that I am this body, or this body is real, I am within this body and this is my body. All those way of looking at it goes away, and that creates the foundation for attaining Sotapanna. So first the skeptical doubt is gone with the understanding the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So we have to do Buddhanusati, Dhammanusati, and then Sanghanusati. These three anusatis have to be constantly done. That will remove Visiki Icha. Then by reflecting through Pena Pindupama Sutta, one can see that there is nothing called as I. So that will help in resolving about correct understanding on the five khandhas. Because there is faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and because we are able to see these five khandhas, the belief in rituals is going to lead to liberation is also gone. I can be in any religion, that's not a problem, including Buddha teaching. But a belief that Sila, or in Sanskrit Shila, Uta in Sanskrit Vrita, Paramasa in Pali, and Parama Ashraya in Sanskrit. So what it means is that Sila is the morality. Vrata means creating, adhering to a particular kind of rites. Parama Ashraya, refuge. It's the ultimate refuge for liberation. That goes away. So that helps a person to attain into the Sotapanna. So where did we start? We started with looking at the dissatisfaction. Then the dissatisfaction helped in looking at the anicca on one side, which is arising and passing away of everything. Then we also looked into what is anatta. Okay, then we found out we don't have any control. So looking at that, we got into the understanding that we need to go deeper. So we started looking at the five khandhas right now, and because of that we are able to see with the Buddhanusati, Dhammanusati, Sanghanusati together. We have reached a stage where we don't have any doubt that Buddha path is not going to lead us to liberation. It is definitely going to lead to liberation. How do we know that? We are able to see exactly where it hurts and how it hurts. So when we are able to see that, we get a glimpse of the first noble truth and the second noble truth, and some glimpse of the third noble truth and the fourth noble truth. So now we can go deeper into the four noble truths. So the first starting point is dissatisfaction, and that will help us to look at the first noble truth, which is jati pi dukkha. This we need to contemplate. What do you mean by jati pi dukkha? Now this is what I do. You can choose whichever way, however way you would like to do. If the breath which we are having so much attachment to, where to stop? Where does the mind establish itself? This is the question. Everything is so unsatisfactory, and in making things satisfying, where is this mind going to latch upon? So then the urgency arises to understand the things as they are, not as they are presented. Then I can see that this situation has arisen because of the birth as the condition. So if there was no birth, this condition wouldn't have arisen. Because there is birth, this condition has arisen. What is this condition? The condition here is that it is going to go to one side of it, which is death. That's the only problem. That means very soon, in a matter of X number of years, existence of that person or personality which he thinks he exists or she exists is going to go away. No matter he is a criminal or he is a politician, he is a king or he is a scientist or he is whatever he is, the becoming, nothing that can be done. So the jara, aging, keeps on happening. I can put a name and make it stable, not dying. When they say Amara, that is not dying. The person is not dead. In where? In the memory. But really, every day, every few hours, and every moment, the breath is going. A new breath comes and the old breath goes. A new breath comes and the old breath goes. Continuously. And there is no way I can do anything about it. It's just like there is a huge hole in the ball, but the ball is so huge that you keep on pumping the air, and on the other side the air is going away. Any person with a good eye can see that there is a hole, but that hole cannot be fixed. The only thing you can do is keep on putting air to that ball till it bursts out. Something similar is this body. It will burst out one day, either as a heart attack either as some infection, some kind of disease, or some kind of whatever that is going to come, and then the consciousness is going to depart. That's the only reality we have at this point in time. Whether a person believes about the new birth or doesn't believe in rebirth, is good person or a bad person, is a noble being or not a noble being, all that, it doesn't matter. He is a nice saint doing many discourses, known to hundreds and thousands and lakhs and crores of people are behind that person. It doesn't matter. Famous, not famous, doesn't matter. For as far as the breath is concerned, it has no kind of liking or disliking or favoritism, that if somebody is known, the breathing will be of one kind. If the person is not known, the breathing is of another kind. It's never like that. So when we start seeing that, we can see the dukkha coming there in the breath itself. Why the dissatisfaction? Because it is going away. So if I were to tell you one story, is that when my mother died, she was 70. My father also died when he was 70. So that happened 4 years ago when she was 70. She just went for a walk in the morning and she collapsed and died. Nobody knows what happened. Now, at that time, I was 46. I shouldn't be telling you that that is my age, because it is aging every moment. But let's say, conventionally speaking, a 46-year-old. So if 46 years have been spent, and if my parents died at 70 out of, let's say, heart failure or whatever that was, what is the probability that I am going to die at 70? Most likely, let's put it. So at that time I had 24 years left. So many breaths. So if I were to calculate it properly, what it would then lead is like this. Per minute, okay, we are going to have 15 breaths. One hour will give me 900 breaths. Into 24 hours, 21,600 breaths. So this is one day. This into 365 days will give me 78,84,000 breaths. This into, at that time, 24 years. So it gives me 18 crores 92 lakh 16,000. That's all the breath I am having. That was at that point in time. Now if I were to do the same thing, 21,600 breaths is what I am going to have. into 365 days, same thing, 78,84,000. Now I have only 20 years left. It's come down to 15 crores 76,80,000. So much of breath is already gone. There is no way I can redeem back the number of breath which is gone. So now I can see the jara in operation. And so much of food has been partaken, and so much of food has gone out. So much of skin has been shred out. New skin has taken over and old skin has gone. New hairs have come, the old hairs have gone. Everything is in a constant flux. Whereas the mad guy Vilas still exists as a name. So I am going to say when I was 46-year-old, so I am saying that I existed in the past, which is not true. When I am when I am 50-year-old now, or going to be 50, is also not true. Because I, as Vilas, and the number have got no significance. The body is undergoing jara. That's a fact. No matter how much I try to convince myself that I'm not getting aged, the body is getting aged. And if I associate myself as a body, then I am getting aged. So most of the people, what they do is they start painting their hairs. They start painting their mustaches, or they start shaving off their hairs just to ensure that the gray spots are not found. So they keep on cheating themselves. They don't want to show that they are aged. They do something about the skin. The skin starts sagging. So the person thinks that my skin shouldn't sag. It looks ugly. I look aged. But they don't realize, or I don't realize, that I cannot do anything about the breath. If my parents died at 70, and if I am supposed to be dying at 70, there is no way I can do anything. I can only hope I live beyond 70. And surprisingly, both the parents died exactly at 70. So if we have that in our genes, no matter whether I paint my hair or I paint whatever I want to paint or do something about the skin, it's not going to change the breath. Jara can be seen. So Jati and Jara now can be seen. Marana is just stone throw away. So this personality, whether he believes in Buddha, doesn't believe in Buddha, does this, does that, doesn't matter. Is a best orator or not a good orator. Knows the Dhamma, doesn't know the Dhamma. Doesn't matter. As far as the breath goes. But there's an advantage. If you are able to watch the breath and see what happens, it immediately calms down. Because it's connected with the mind. The feeling and perception is part of the mind. So when we get into the pajanati, the mind literally stops. there's no movement. Because when you bring the breath to the front to observe, everything stops. There are no thoughts. So this is one strategy what I have found extremely useful. We can then see many more things, not only the marana, death. We can also see piyehi vipayogo dukkho, getting away from loved ones gives you a very immediate dissatisfaction experience. It need not be death. Just your partner, your friend, or whoever, girlfriend or boyfriend, or even a child or whatever. It's going to go to another city, another place, another town, another country. I don't think so anybody would be satisfied with that. But they're helpless, so they accept to it. But there is a deep sense of anguish, a deep sense of helplessness, a deep sense of hopelessness feeling. And because of that, they start missing their children, missing their siblings, the missing feeling is going to be there. So then we have technology. So what we have done is that we have found out technology so that we can be in touch, not realizing that the breath cannot be brought back, whether the person is staying in this place or that place. He's not the same person who stayed here, goes there, again comes back. He's not the same person. But still the mind feels that no, he's the same person. He's my son, he's my daughter, this is my husband, this is my wife, this is my friend, this is my neighbor. So it keeps on doing that, unmindful of what is happening. But when we are able to look at from this angle of 21,600 breaths in a day into 365 days, that means it gives you a fright. 1 year you have spent 78,84,000 breaths. Whether you were, and if you are angry, if I am angry, if I am excited, the number of breaths are going to increase. They are not going to be reduced. So the more the excitement, the worse it is, because then the breaths will become 40 instead of 15. This is of 15 breaths is when the mind is calm, when the BP has not increased. What if I hear something? What if I have an excitement of good news or bad news, and I forget all about the breath? What happens? Or what happens when I hear about COVID-19? Am I happy? No, I am not happy. So when somebody is in trouble with the disease, what happens to my breath? The number of beats going to increase. So there is panic attack. Why? Because the number of heartbeats increases. That means the breath is now not from the navel, it is from the chest. So when it comes to the chest region, the number of breaths, instead of 15, it becomes somewhere on 50, 55. That means the beats per second, instead of being in its 60s and 70s, would come to 90s and 100. So there's a panic attack. and because of the panic attack, the person goes unconscious. And in that unconsciousness, the number of breaths have already got exhausted. So instead of 78,84,000 breaths in a year, I have already exhausted more number of breaths. If I have exhausted more number of breaths, the likelihood of I surviving till 70 is also not true. So my number of years comes down. So if I made that itself as an habit, with being an anxious person, full of anxiety, what's going to happen? It will be not 20 years from today. It will be hardly 10-12 years. What if I continue on the same way, with job stress, with so many different ideas and opinions of people and going around doing things? What happens? The dissatisfaction level increases so much that the heart cannot take this stress any longer. So it stops beating, and then that's the heart attack. So I might live in the hospital, or I might not live in the hospital. So by 55, 58 or early 60, the person is gone, because the number of breaths are fixed. If you increase the number of breath, you die. If you reduce the number of breaths, you live. That's a very scientific way of looking at it. So there is suffering due to dissatisfaction of everything, and that increases the number of breaths. So being contented with whatever is the situation at least does not kill you. Instead, it takes you to the realm where you want it to be. So mind is the enemy, and mind is also a friend. So we need to know how to handle the mind. So this dasa kusala, or removal of dasa akusala, that the immoral deeds, will help in ensuring that we don't go down. At least we are making all effort to make it go up. So even if I were to stay for 100 years, the number of breaths are fixed. The ayush, longevity, the number of years a person has to exist, is one part of it. But what does the mind do is another part of it. So what Buddha Dhamma does is that it purifies the mind from all these madness. So this is one test where we can do. 15 is an average. Through practice, one can bring it down to 10, can bring it down to 8, and you can even bring it down to 6 breaths a minute. So when you take an oximeter, and if you were to check your number of heartbeats when you are very calm, it will be in your early 70s or late 60s as a number, 65, 64 to 70. If you are a good meditator, then it can be around 43 to 55. If you are really a meditator who can go into the 4 jhanas, then the number of breath comes down from 40s to 32 and even goes below 30 when there is no breath, but you are perfectly alive, perfectly healthy, and you can stay there as long as you want. So this is one practice what we all can do. Now coming further on this. Now the next step is to reach Sakadagami. To reach to Sakadagami, we have to let go of the possessions. Now for letting go of the possessions, we need to do two things simultaneously. One thing, we need to do the jhana, achieving the third jhana, and on another side we need to look at the Indriya Bhavana, because we need to do the Indriya Samvara, without which this is not going to work. So in Majjhima Nikaya there is Indriya Bhavana Sutta. So if you are able to understand the deeper essence of the Indriya Bhavana Sutta, you will be able to see what is there in the senses. Or Chachakka Sutta, that's another one which is very handy, which takes 6 different ways. It talks about the senses basically, and in the Indriya Bhavana Sutta, Buddha gives the examples with illustration. So the practice that needs to be done, which has really worked out for me, is very simple. Just watch the sound. There is a starting of the sound, then there is ending of the sound. That's all. Don't name it. Just watch the sound. So out of 5 senses, 1 or 2 senses are very sensitive. You cannot tame it immediately. You have to find the sense which is not so sensitive. Sensitive in the sense that attachment. Some people have attachment towards hearing music, so they cannot stop that. Some people have very great sensation or sensitivity towards tongue. They love to eat lot of different foods, so they can't stop that. Some people have habit of touching. Anything they get, they would like to touch. Immediately that cannot be stopped. Some people have a habit of seeing. They keep on seeing this or that, so that cannot be stopped immediately. Some people have a habit of smelling, so that cannot be stopped. And some people have a great habit of thinking. They're thinkers, so that cannot be stopped also. So you have to find one which is very simple. Meaning very simple in the sense that you don't have much of attachment towards that senses. So let's say if you have sound, which is very least, then it's a good thing. You can observe just the sound coming and going, coming, going. Don't name it. You'll enjoy it. It's just like water coming and going, like a waterfall or like a river or whatever simile that can be given. Can really see there's nothing there in the sound except that it's just a sound. Now you will also experience another thing. You will experience whenever there is space, there is sound. If there is no space, there is no sound. So sound is there because of space. Dependent on the space is the sound. This you will experience. And wherever there is a space or a hole, you will see the sound. Nose has holes, sound can be heard of breathing. Ear has a hole, so you can hear. Mouth has a hole, so the vocal cords shake and then creating a sound. Anus has a hole, so again a sound. And the private part also has holes, so again a sound. So basically wherever there is a hole, there is going to be a sound. It's not that you are making a sound or I am making a sound, it's just a sound. Because there is space. And space, if it is there, sound is dependent on that. If you remove the space, it becomes vacuum, no sound. So first you have to experience the sound, and then you can understand this phenomena, Dhamma, which is space. Something similar, touch. If you don't have Pathavi, earth element, there's nothing to touch. So you require something hard or soft, which is Pathavi. Then you require light for the eyes to see. So depending upon the light, that is Tejo, there is Rupa that can be seen by eyes. So ear can hear something if there is space. There can be something that can be tangibly touched if there is Pathavi. If there is something that can be seen, then it requires Tejo Dhatu, light. Then if something has to be tasted by the tongue, it requires Apo Dhatu. If something has to be smelt by the nose, then it requires Vayu, which can carry the smell. So when you practice like this, you are in the Bhavana, meditation on the Indriyas. Practicing that way in all situations, watching the breath and also watching these senses, will let off the possessive attitude. So the possession orientation is gone. There's nothing to possess. Sabbu padi pati nissaggo. So whatever is created, developed, you let it go because you never developed in first place, because the space you did not bring, or in my case I did not bring. The earth element I did not bring, the water element I did not bring, the air element I did not bring, the fire element I did not bring. None of these 5 elements I brought it. It's there. It's not mine. It's not me. It's not myself. So in that way I can see. So when we really see the Indriya Bhavana, it helps greatly to exactly experience what should be experienced. So you get a abhinya, able to see things as they actually are. And that really opens up the wisdom, panya. Because with the possession orientation going away, you are able to see how stupid I was in possessing something which never had any value to it. So the second thing after Sakkaya Ditti removal through Pena Pindupama Sutta I need to do is to guard the senses, Indriya Samvara, through Indriya Bhavana Sutta. So when the basic aim is to look at the dissatisfaction, and we can see it in the breath itself, that gives you the anicca experience, that strengthens the anatta. Then you can see that how asubha it is. There's no auspiciousness in that at all. And once it is seeing like that, opens up the dimension to experience the paticca samutpada. And while experiencing paticca samutpada, that is dependent origination, we are able to remove or suppress or reduce the dasa akusala, 10 immoral deeds, which will then stop transmigration into the apayas or to the bad realm of existence. And because it is not going to establish in bad realm of existence, you will at least be reborn into human. And by properly practicing, you can become once returner as a Sakadagami, because there is no possession orientation. So let's continue on this journey. In the next class, maybe tomorrow when we meet, we will look at what all other things that needs to be done and how we can journey together. Any questions?
No questions, sir. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, pardon? Yes.
No questions.
Yes, Swati.
No questions about needs to be practiced.
Okay, very good. Yes, Swati, you were saying something.
No, I wasn't saying something. I said thank you. No question at all.
Okay, very good. So then we will meet up tomorrow at 8:30.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, sir.
Namo Buddhaya.
Good night,
Bye.
sir.
Good night.
Namo Buddhaya. Good night, sir.
Good night. Bye.